The title of my thesis work is Assessment of the Sustainability of Private Partnership Housing Delivered in Ogun State. I will run through straight to introduction. Fundamentally, housing has been severally defined as a major necessity for a human being. It's one of the three fundamental necessities for a man. It is a shelter in which people live, which it is a very crucial component in the social and economic relations, according to Jagede 2016. It is one of the most crucial components of man's physical existence after food, then followed by the clothing, according to the World Health Organization. World Organization is of a view that housing is one of the most fundamental human requirements as a component of the environment. It has a significant impact of the community health, efficiency, social behavior, the contentment, and the overall well-being. There are certain challenges that faces housing. The housing is facing. One of it is shortage of finance, two, land governance, infrastructural, building technology, that's technical know-how, and inadequate housing policies. The Millennium Development Goal 11 stated that make cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And so this work is looking at how sustainable are buildings that are built through public-private partnership. How sustainable are they? And this concept is considering housed in three major concepts of sustainability, from the economic perspective, the social, and the environmental. There are so many research work, but these are some of the problems that we have that is facing housing. There is an evidence of growing slum settlement in areas of Nigeria, according to United Habitat 27, due to the increasing housing deficit, who do not move in tandem with the rising national population and increase in population. The sustainability of housing delivered to people in Nigeria has received little or no research. A lot of work has been done as regards the sustainability of housing delivery processes, but not much work, not much quantitative work has been done as regards the delivered. And why do I mean by delivered? If we still claim to have housing deficit, and PPP has been proposed as one of the fundamental ways to escape through this housing deficit. Now the question now is, what measures are we taking to assess the ones that have been delivered through PPP? So this research work seeks to ask questions. One, that what are the socio-economic characteristics of the residents of PPP housing in the study area? Two, what are the characteristics of the existing PPP housing project delivered in the study area? Three, to what extent do economic factors influence these housing that are delivered in the study area? To what extent the social factors influence them? And to what extent do environmental factors influence them? What level of satisfaction do the dwellers of this housing had? And what are the challenges that is affecting the housing project delivered through PPP in the studied area? I'll go straight to the aims of the study. The aim of this study, the study's aimed at assessing the extent to which PPP partnership project housing delivered in Ogun State are sustainable in terms of its economic, social, and environmental. And the objectives to this study are: one, to analyze the socio-economic characteristics of the residents of PPP housing in the studied area. Two, to examine the characteristics of existing PPP housing projects delivered in the study area. Three, to evaluate the economic factors that influence PPP housing projects in Ogun State. Four, to evaluate social factors that influence these projects in the state. 5, to evaluate environmental factors that influence PPP housing projects in the state. 6, to evaluate the level of satisfaction of dwellers of housing delivered in PPP. And lastly, to appraise the challenges affecting housing project delivered through PPP. The scope of the study. The scope of this study is limited, and the scope of this study is within Ogun State, and it considers all the 20 local governments in the state, and it looks at only residential buildings that are delivered through public-private partnership housing in the state. Because of time, I move straight to literature review. PPP has so many definitions, and so many people have tried over the time to define what PPP is. In Canada, PPP stands as a corporation that exists between the public sector and private sector that is based on the competence of both sides, primarily to meet the public needs with principle of resource allocation, sharing of profit, and probably sharing of risk. There are so many PPP typologies. We have the traditional PPP approach, we have the contributory PPP approach, partnership approach, we have the private sector's ownership approach. These diagrams summarize the types of PPP that we have. The performance-based maintenance contract, the operations and maintenance contract, the lease and the concession, the build, own, operate, transfer, the design, build. Every of those ones that tends toward these right sides are pure private ownership, and the ones concentrated at the middles are PPP, because PPP itself is a concept that tends to merge the private and the public together. And look at the theoretical review for this work. The studied examine for theoretical review, which are the principal agent theory, the structural theory, the transaction cost theory, and the equity theory. But for the purpose of the work, the equity theory is considered. And I move to the conceptual framework. Now, in a bid to assess how sustainable the PPP delivered housing are, the private-public partnership housing delivered is subject to sustainability factors. And these factors are economic factors, the social factors, and environmental factors. And all these factors are independent of the housing satisfaction, which in ends give sustainable housing. The dwellers of the house must be able to certify if they must be able to give reason if the housing they are living is satisfied, and before we can achieve whether because we can get whether the house is sustainable or not. Then I move straight to the methodology of this research. The research design. The study employed a survey research design to explore the outcome of the stated objective using structured questionnaire. A population and population size. The population of 6,500 PPP housing units domiciled in all the local government of Ogun State were considered. And 9 out of the 20 local government have PPP domicile in them. That means there are local governments that will have more than one PPP housing in there. 13 PPP housing estates were named, from which the population of the number of housing units were there. This table gives us an in-depth analysis of the local government, the housing schemes that was involved in the production of the house, the name of the housing estate, and the housing units in those estates. We have a total of 6,500 houses built by through PPP method. And for sample size, multi-state scientific approach, allocation, and purposive sampling were employed in the study in selecting 1,118 using the curricular sample size, and this is how we arrive at 1,186. Another questionnaire to address objective 7 was also administered to the agencies, which are the workers in those agencies, and that the source of data, primary data using structural question, secondary data consists of, and these are used. The approach to data analysis. The descriptive part of data analysis consists of frequency, percentile, measured of central tendencies where applicable, while Cramer's relative index and principal component analysis, a factor analysis approach to data were applicable. The methods of data analysis. This is called table 3, that is objective matrix. For every of the objective, the data type that was obtained and the methods, the analytical techniques used in analyzing them was specified. For objective 1, data was obtained from the resident through their age, gender, and this brings up to all of the objectives that is stated. The method of data, then I move straight to result and discussion. The socio-demographic analysis of agencies that is involved in PP houses were analyzed through bar chart and pie chart, and Gateway City happened to have, which is one of the 3 agencies that was involved in construction of PPP in the state, happened to have the highest number of PPP house constructed in the state, with a percentage of 37 this. Then their year of experience, age, education, and all these were done. Now, objective 1, in analyzing the socio-economic characteristics of the resident, these were the tables that was showing the age range, the education background, all about their social economic characteristics were listed, and this gives us the analysis of all the questions. And objective 2, to examine the characteristics of existing PPP housing project delivered. Through also descriptive statistics were used, and these are also the characteristics of the housing, and these are the analysis of all the. Then I move straight to objective 3, which is evaluating economic factors that influence. From this table, we can see that the mean and standard deviations were used in ranking, and from this we look at how they were ranked from the highest to the lowest, and this gives us there is a satisfactory table at one which gives the range at which it is acceptable to be satisfactory, not satisfactory, neutral, and then anyone between the range of 4.5 to 5.0 is adjudged to be strongly satisfactory, and satisfactory within 3.5. And from the table, it is seen as the nearness of the house to worship, to religion and worship center. The people of the dwellers they are neutral about it. They are indifferent about it, and also getting value for their money. They were also they were indifferent about. But there are a lot of factors. The cost of the building, you are satisfactory about that. Then I have a collection matrix table to show the social influencing PPP. And also the commodities and component matrix for the economics show. The above table reveal the component. 1 is highly correlated with 3 original variables of the nearness to the resident of the house, religious worship center location, cost of the building, and the low cost of maintenance of features in the house. Component 2 is also correlated with 2 original economic variables, such as the nearness to the resident house, to the market, shopping centers, etc. And these variables are ranked in the order of their mean factor. And I move to the objective 4, which is the descriptive statistics of the variables of social factors. They were also ranked, and we can see. And when I get to, and there's a grid plot here to show the linear, the script plot, other evidences of the social factor, to show the orders of divergence of. Then I have the for objective 5. I also have the table which reveals that component 1 is highly correlated with 7 other original variables of the level of privacy in the apartment, building setback, the width of the foot, the aesthetics, the appearance, the space for landscape, the water pollution, the setbacks of. So these are the variables that were measured. Then I move to objective 6, which is the overall rating for the PP housing satisfaction in Ogun State. Residents were moderately satisfied with all the identified variables at their exists significant difference in their satisfaction level. Another satisfaction derived from PPP housing delivered is based on the management and maintenance of facility in the estate. General security of life and property in the estate, nearness to healthcare facility, business opportunities within and around the housing estate, cost and implication of acquiring and renting of housing, amongst other listed, were adjudged to be satisfactory. Then comparing the mean of these variables with the population value of three also indicated a significant mean difference in the opinion of the resident towards PPP housing satisfaction. Then the overall rating of challenges in the delivery of PPP project as illustrated in table 14. The t-test of the mean showed that 9 out of the 19 factors were significant in influencing the delivery of PPP housing project. Furthermore, the mean agreement score of the 19 challenges range from 4.13, that's the poor, 4.13 to 2.86, misinformation of the financial capacity of the private partner. In contrast, the standard mean value, since the p-value of the top 7 ranked challenges were less than 0.1, this demonstrated that these challenges will significantly hinder the success of implementing of PPP housing project and is identified. Conclusion, sir. The result shows that majorities of participants were between the age of 40 and 54. That is about majority of the participants between this age, 40 and 54, were older. The result showed that majority of participants, that's 294 people, were 33.2%, were between the age of 40 and 54. 174, like 19.7%. 33 were older. 70, that's like 187 people, but just 21.1%, were found to be with the age of 55 and 69. 168 people, that's 19%, were between the ages of 25 and 39. And the minors, that's 62, that's just 7%, were younger than 25. Taking the participant nature of the employment into consideration, the result shows that the majority of representing 420, that's 48.2, were civil servants. 188, that's 21.2, were self-employed. 81, that's 9.2, were wage earners, while 189, that's 21.4, were retirees. This implies that civil servants, government workers, have major access to housing units provided by the public-private, but as against the self-employed participants and those working in the private sector. The characteristics of the housing in the study area are purely residential. This is in tandem with the scope of the research work to consider only residential building built through PPP. The majority of the dwellers were satisfied with the economic variables. This also implies that PPP constructed projects are economically sustainable. The nearest to town center, police station, workplace, hospital, market, and education center were all satisfied. This implies that PPP housing delivered are socially sustainable and it gives easy access to all social indices. The dwellers of the housing under consideration are to be of great extent satisfied with the indices of measured environmental sustainability. The drainage system is the most satisfied index, followed by individuals' space for each members of the household to the least satisfied, which is the distance of the building from the side of the boundary. In conclusion, this study has demonstrated that PPP housing delivered, supported by adequate sustainable variables, will provide tangible results in the provision of sustainable housing and access to adequate and satisfactory housing. Also, this study, which is based on the program theory evaluation approach attempt, has provided tangible evidence in supporting the underlying assumption and beliefs in PPP housing in Ogun State. It has shown that the adoption of PPP housing delivery strategy by different government agencies in housing provision can result in the provision of adequate housing for different categories of people, which will in turn lead to improved quality of life among registered and sustainable living in terms of social, economic, and environmental recommendation. I therefore recommend, sir, that government should encourage private partnership by providing an enabling environment through tax reduction, when organized mortgage scheme and low interest rate for funding housing projects. The opinions and input of end users of the housing scheme should be taken during the planning, design and construction stage of the project to meet the beneficiary of the scheme. Finally, the government should apply building performance evaluation and all its housing projects to ensure improved quality of housing, environment occupied by users that will meet minimum criteria for environmental quality, cost-effective construction practices and other social contribution to knowledge. This research has established a relationship with the existing research work, carrying out empirical work that has not been previously done. This study has carried out an empirical study on PPP project in Ogun State context. A detailed and fresh overview of PPP practice in Ogun State has been presented to provide the state of the art from various literature sources, including unpublished material. This study will also improve the delivery of affordable housing, bridging the gap between demand and supply, and explore robust theoretical and empirical model that would support public private housing units and agencies in improving Nigeria's existing housing condition. And I submit, sir, housing itself is a defense. The lack of a sustainable one is an offense. Safe, affordable housing is a basic necessity for every family. Without a decent place to live, people cannot be productive, members of the society, children cannot learn, and family cannot thrive. Thank you, sir.